Mouthwashing is a story about consequences, taking onus of one's actions. Now, this ship, as you can see, it's empty. It's empty because of the actions of Jimmy. Now, that bastard's actions led to the destruction of everyone's lives aboard the Tulpar. You're probably wondering, who the hell am I? Well, my name is Think Heavy. I was originally supposed to be on this particular mission, but I woke up late. Yeah, my alarm didn't go off. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that it didn't. But you know what? I'm not here to tell you about myself or my story, or the story of the fated downfall of the crew here aboard the Tulpar. If you've experienced or played Mouthwashing, well then, you already are aware of what took place here. No, I'm here to share my thoughts on why. Just why this happened. Could it have been avoided? And I really want to explore the demented mind of someone who would go to such great lengths to hide their wrongdoing. This, my viewing crew members, is our journey that we're destined to take to find those answers. Now we're going back, going way back through these blood-soaked walls in a series I like to call backwashing. Let's get started. There is a lot of symbolism in mouthwashing. You might have noticed, I'm sure. It's open to interpretation, though. The first question many of us have is, why? Why did Jimmy crash this ship in the first place? Jimmy didn't have a good go at life back on Earth. You know, he was a bit of a loser in my eyes, honestly. In the psych evaluation and conversations with Curly, he mentioned his struggles and how much he enjoyed simply just being co-pilot of this here Tulpar. Now, that sense of control he felt was meaningful to him. So imagine how crestfallen he must have felt when Curly revealed the news that the company would be closing up shop. We'd be out of jobs, all of us here. Jimmy was a bad man, and I need everyone to understand that he was a bad man. Instead of just facing what lies ahead of him, dealing with the loss of his job and potentially seeking a new one when arriving back on Earth, well, he just wanted to hurt Curly. I mean, well, Curly was in fact the only one who would maintain a job after all. He was secretly jealous of the captain and even muttered at the beginning upon the crash, "I hope this hurts." His spite and hatred for Curly, potentially wanting to taint his legacy as this last voyage of the Tulpar for Pony Express, blinded him for those moments. And it all surfaced to the top, leading to the events we see play out. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. Walk with me, all right? There's plenty more that we gotta discuss. This is Curly. This is Curly now, I should say. He's a shell of his former self, but the only one who survived. Why? Well, the guilt. The guilt Jimmy felt after his actions were too much for him to handle. The actions he didn't want to face weren't just based on him losing out on his job and his life on Earth. It stemmed from actions he took part in while on board this here Tulpar. Actions with Anya. Jimmy possibly did the unthinkable to Anya. And if you played the game, if you're familiar with mouthwashing, then you know exactly what I'm referring to. And with Anya being pregnant with Jimmy's child, the reality of him being punished for it back on Earth was all too real. So what did he do? Well, the man went on a killing spree. His intentions most certainly were to get rid of those who were aware of his crimes, and Anya and Curly. The others, Swansea and Daisuke, well, they were just ancillary. But throughout this time, Curly somewhat becomes, I would say, a symbolic figure in his broken and injured state. Now, the way he is, the way Curly is, Jimmy and Anya have to take care of him. Anya is pregnant with Jimmy's child. Jimmy wasn't willing to take responsibility for his actions, and likely, if Anya brought the baby to term, well, he wouldn't take responsibility for the baby. How could he? Back on Earth, he struggled in life, struggled with his own life. This job at Pony Express was his only saving grace, and now that was being taken away from him. He proved just how terrible a father he could be. He might have been, just with how he took care of Curly, how terrible of a caretaker he would have been. I mean, Curly, whose his injured state was supposed to represent Anya and Jimmy's unborn baby. Someone who couldn't take care of themselves if they were brought into this world. Now, Jimmy, I'm pretty sure you all already know this. He's a narcissist through and through, but towards the end of Mouthwashing, he did in fact make the ultimate sacrifice, for selfish reasons, of course. Now, he chose to save Curly instead of himself. This was an act of redemption, pseudo-redemption, one that, well, he'll never really have, to be quite honest with you. I look at Jimmy, I look at his actions, and I look at the steps he took, and it's a lot like a man I used to know named James Sunderland from Silent Hill 2. He's a character that is the true villain of his story, and we just see it unfold. He was a person who was motivated by self-serving thoughts to commit unspeakable actions only to regret them later on. But you, the player, that's right, you're forced to step into those very shoes as if it's your duty to try and redeem this irredeemable character. Jimmy and James are very similar in that regard. But the thing is, it's not the player's responsibility. It's not the player's responsibility to redeem this irredeemable character. It's yours, Jimmy. It's always been yours, and it always has been, which is why we see the perspective towards the end of the game shift. The player, you take over as the impaired Curly, as Jimmy delivers his final monologue to finally take responsibility for his very own actions by making the ultimate sacrifice. But in all honesty, even in the end, he didn't take responsibility for his actions. He took the coward's way out. Taking responsibility would have meant owning up to what you did, Jimmy, but the amount of chaos he created was far too much for him to handle. And he knew that there was no turning back. But maybe, just maybe, we can bring things back in this series of backwashing. I want to thank you all so much for watching this. My name is Think Heavy. Now, if you enjoyed this, please subscribe for more. I do indeed plan on doing more deep explorations such as this, and I have major plans for Mouthwashing specifically. So be sure to join me, because I'm pretty sure you'd love to know my story. Who am I? Why was I not on that ship? I do plan on telling you all. But hey, I wasn't on that ship because, hey, I'm a black man, and I already know the black man is the first person to go in each and every one of these instances. Hey, hell no, nigga. I wasn't going to be on that ship. But hey, you know what? Thank you all so much for watching. Always think heavy about the actions you take, because only you are responsible for your actions. And I do indeed hope to see you in the next video. Take care.